Todd Hutchings, a.k.a. Toddzilla, elite middleweight arm wrestling champion. How you doing, Todd?
I'm doing well.
Good, good. Before we get started, before we jump into who you are and how you got started and so on and so forth, the majority of people that are going to watch this are already going to know who you are. We're going to get into that anyway. Yeah, probably. We're going to get into that anyway. But I really want to know your opinion on this weekend that happened with Paul Lynn and John Brzenk and Michelle Dugan and Christy Resendez. I want your opinion on those two because I know
I did not see the Michelle and Christy match. I was out of state for the weekend.
Okay.
And I only saw the first match of John and Paul because I was driving. So I had the YouTube on while I was driving. To me, it looked close, but it was hard because they went back and forth a few times. But then, but it looked like John just had control. John doesn't look like he gets too panicked or stuff when he was in the losing position.
Mm-hmm.
I would have thought Paul had a pretty good shot when they were turned in like that, especially in the straps. But I would not have tried to outhand John's hand in a match like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I really wish Paul would have won one of them because I pulled Paul recently. I mean, we practiced together and we talk every once in a while. And, I wish Paul would have won one or two of them so I had a better idea exactly where John's at. It's really hard to gauge John's capability when he just beats everybody,
Yeah. What did you think?
He looked like he had control of it. He looked like he took Paul inside, which is where Paul wanted to be. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Well, I had interviewed Ian Carnegie and a couple of months ago, and he said with John, there's no lane you can cut off. And no. He said even if you beat him once, you're not going to beat him the same way the second time. So
yeah. John pulls a lot of tools out of that toolbox he has.
What did you think of John planning to pull against Devin Larratt right before this entire Poland arm wrestling match went down?
Well, John's one of those people that
you're breaking up on me, Todd.
Feeling John sees a hole in Devin's game, and they pulled each other a lot. John and Devin have a lot of history together, and I think John seemingly knows how he's going to exploit. So, yeah, it's I like John in that match myself. I don't think he'll take Devin inside. I don't think he'll go inside with Devin. But
Devin weighs a hell of a lot more. I mean, when he pulled against Michael, he was like 290, right?
Yeah, he was pretty big, but he ain't that big now. I think he's 240 when he fought when he was in that box match. So I think he lost a lot. But even if Devin goes from 220 to 300, so let's say he increased his size 40%, his arm didn't get 40% bigger.
That's true.
A lot of that 40% spread throughout the body that doesn't actually weigh in on arm wrestling. I mean, his arm didn't grow 40%, And the Devin Michael Todd match was interesting because it looked like Devin just completely shut down Michael's hand.
Mm-hmm.
In which case, Devin didn't have to gain a whole lot of weight to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like Devin arm wrestled through his back or shoulders or arm. It looks like he just beat him with his hand. And God, I think a 230-pound Devin could have done that.
Right. Now, if I am if I'm in another sport, if I am a fighter, if I'm an MMA fighter, if I'm a boxer, if I am any other sport, and I'm planning to go against one person, and then basically I make plans before the match happens for the next opponent. In other sports, that's taken as disrespect. Like you're not even worried about this first opponent. Is it the same way in arm wrestling? Like when John decided he was going to pull against Devin, but he hadn't pulled Paul yet. Is that disrespectful?
No, because in those other sports, let's call them real sports, where people make real money.
Yeah.
A lot of those fighters and competitors competitors probably aren't friends. You know, Devin and John have probably been friends for 20 years.
I see.
A lot of times you're in matches against people you've trained with on a friendly basis or helped out, stuff like that. So, and it's not for, it's not for life-changing money. It's for like weekend-changing money, or maybe month-changing money. Maybe winning that match changes your month, but it don't change your lifetime. You win a big UFC fight, your life has changed. Your kids go from trade school to Ivy League school.
Right.
It changes a lot of stuff. You win a couple of arm wrestling matches, and all that means is your credit card bills are a little lower that month.
Arm wrestling is very new to me, and I owe a lot of I owe a lot to Paul Lynn, because he was the first arm wrestler to come on my show, and he opened the door for me. So I don't know much about arm wrestling. I come from like a bodybuilding kind of background and powerlifting, and I've always been a boxing fan and so on and so forth. And when I saw that John made the match with Devin right before he pulled against Paul, I was like, yo, that's fucking disrespectful. But
John's also got a match in January that's already set up. John's probably got 3 or 4 matches set up.
Yeah, it was really, it's something, well, anyway, let's get to you.
Okay.
Yeah, let's get to you. Let's not make it about everybody else. This one is about you. Now, the little bit of research that I was able to do about you, you didn't really find arm wrestling like everybody else did. You kind of stumbled upon it. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I fell backwards into it. I was looking for something else. I was 35 years old, and I was looking for archery tournaments, and then I saw posting for an arm wrestling tournament in the town, one town over. So it was just a lark. But I fell into it at the right time, because shortly after I got into it, they were making a movie about John. And because of that, I think some of the promoters started getting TV deals again. So
I apologize. Say that again. You were going in and out.
And like the Best Damn Sports Show and Fox. Every time. So they were making that documentary about John Brzee. So that brought a lot of interest into it. And then the Fox Sports Channel had a show called the Best Damn Sports Show. So they were putting arm wrestling on that, and then ESPN put it on a few times. So then all of a sudden there was money everywhere, and Igor had started like a year or 2 after I started. So that's been a very consistent, well-run league. So all of a sudden there's like real money in it. And I just happened I fell in with a good team, and then I fell in with another good team. So I couldn't do anything wrong for about 10 years, man. I kept getting better, and the money kept getting better.
So when you went into that first tournament, you've never arm wrestled before? You just threw yourself in?
Yeah, never arm wrestled like with rules and stuff. I mean, we arm wrestled like in high school and stuff, but that was the first time I ever. Well, what happened was I signed up for that tournament in the neighboring town, and then I started researching it, and I told my wife at the time, I said, oh man, I'm going to get beat bad, and I'm going to get embarrassed. So then we found another tournament 6 hours away, and we drove up to it just so my first tournament wasn't in front of my neighbors.
Yeah. That's great.
So my first tournament was actually 6 hours away, and that's when I walked up and finally saw a table, and finally, I got a way in, like in front of all these people, and it was like everything I did was like brand new at that first tournament.
Okay. So how well did you do with that first tournament?
It was all amateurs. It was small. I think I got a second place and a first place, or maybe I got 2 second places. I got trophies, so I was pretty proud of that, because I mean, when I saw all these other people, I didn't think I'd win anything, but I think I got 2 second places. And then I connected with the people who were there who did well or won. So then now I knew somebody I could train with for a while. And that was in Michigan. And then a year later, I moved to South Carolina. And then, I fell in with a team that had multiple national and world champions in it. So that's when I really started learning, was when I moved to South Carolina. And it took 3, 4, maybe 5 years before I became like a national level arm wrestler. And then, once I got there, I started meeting other people that were really good. And then I eventually moved to Utah, where I'd actually trained with John for several years. So I was probably a world level arm wrestler in about 8, 9 years after starting.
That's pretty impressive. And did you ever, I know you won a couple of WAL middleweight tournaments. Did you ever win a world title?
I never competed at the world championships. So.
Oh, really? Is that something that you consider doing or no?
No, it's arm wrestlers kind of fall into 2 categories. There's a lot of people who go to the worlds. It's expensive to go. It costs thousands of dollars to go. You don't win anything. And by the time I was capable of probably winning that, I'd met John. I hadn't trained with him yet, but I'd met him and heard about him. And John was probably the only true professional arm wrestler I knew. So, and I was old at the time. I mean, I'm in my 40s. So I kind of modeled myself after John, just trying to be a professional arm wrestler. And as far as I know, John's only gone to the worlds once. I think it was in Japan. And that's because after the world championships, they were holding a money tournament. But in order to compete in the money tournament, you had to enter the world championships. So John went to the world championships, competed left-handed in order to compete right-handed in the money tournament afterwards, and he won that.
Oh, okay. Okay. That makes sense. All right.
Yeah. So that sealed it for me. I said, from now on, I'm a professional arm wrestler. I'm doing it for prize money or for perks or something.
Yeah, well, I kind of can't blame you, right? I mean, it's a great hobby. It's great to get into, but if you can make some money doing it, why not?
Right.
So the world.
I think we had multiple world championships for a while. I think there was like 2 or 3 world championships every year. Yeah. And if you're a world champion, you don't defend it. Like the next year, you're thrown into the same tournament bracket as everybody else. So these people who win multiple world championships, they start like luck of the draw tournament every tournament. They're not defending their world title for a year. So
I see.
All of that's just kind of odd.
Yeah, so it's basically for notoriety.
Yeah,
okay,
I think so.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's still a great accomplishment. I've interviewed several world champs, and Michael Todd, Fia. Mullen,
yeah. You had Lisa Wolfley on. She's won it 3 times.
Oh yes, that's right. I did have Lisa Wolfley on. Yeah, I did it. I wanted to have her on again after Florida, but she didn't want to come back because she said it was a weak tournament. And I'm like, but it's still a world title, so what's the difference? And she's like,
and it's still her 3rd one.
Oh yeah. Well,
still beat everybody who went.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I also had Sean Hancock. Came on after he won. So now where do you see yourself going from here? I mean, you are 48 years old?
I am 55.
Oh, 55. Oh, okay. Well, you look great for your age, that's for sure.
Are you flirting with me?
No. Unfortunately, I'm straight, dude.
It would mean a lot more if you were flirting with me.
Well, what would be funny was I interviewed Michelle and Christy right before they pulled like last week, and they're such nice girls that they had nothing terrible to say about each other. And I was trying to like pull some, right, and they were just too nice to. And I said to Christy, do you have anything derogatory to say about Michelle? And she goes, no, but I have a question for you. And I was like, all right. She goes, how about you and I set up a match? I went, what? She goes, yeah. She goes, yeah, you and me. And then you could arm wrestle Michelle. I was like, she goes, I'll pull left-handed, Michelle will pull right-handed. I said, are you nuts? I never arm wrestled a day in my life. I said, I'll just have to tuck my package back and call myself Sally or something. There's no way. It's just not happening. So now where do you go from here? What do you think arm wrestling has in store for you as far as the future goes?
It's, we haven't had a viable league in the United States ever since COVID started. Yes. But recently, this YouTube, pay-per-view, social media stuff, I'm starting to get the phone's ringing again, and the prize money's not where it was a few years ago, but it's climbing. And yeah, I've got 2 or 3 tentative offers. I'm negotiating. They're all for several $1,000s a pop. So, you know, 2021 is going to end all right, but 2022 might be another $15,000-$20,000 year. You know,
that's fantastic. So that was actually going to be my a question that I saved to the end about how social media has changed arm wrestling, because you went from, you said you started in 2000 where there was literally no social media or very little. Right?
There was nothing. There was like a message board, and you had to call somebody to get a VHS tape of the tournament.
Right, you know? right, yeah. And now all the way to now where you could see it immediately, and you could see the behind the scenes in every tournament and every puller and every person and every champion. What do you think the benefits and what do you think the cons are for the social media era? For arm wrestling, obviously.
Things. It's shortened the development time to become a good arm wrestler. It's probably shortened it 30 or 40%. So where it probably took me 5-6 years to get national level, I think a super heavyweight could probably do it in 2 or 3, and a lightweight could probably do it in 4. So it's shortened that, but then it's also taken a lot of folks who are not national or world level, but it's elevated them because they're popular, they're well known. So you got this weird mix of very accomplished arm wrestlers who nobody's heard of, and these very unaccomplished arm wrestlers that everybody's heard of.
That's right.
And then they clash, and then you go, holy shit, you know, America's favorite arm wrestler just got smoked by that country boy nobody's heard of.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
It's really coming out weird, you know. Some guy, I got 80,000 subscribers, and I made, you know, $60,000 on YouTube last year with my arm wrestling video. You know, John climbs off his tractor and beats his ass 3 times in a row.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, no, but that's not just arm wrestling. That is powerlifting. That is bodybuilding. That is any one of the power sports. The social media personas are blowing up. For example, I don't know if you heard, but Logan Paul is signed to fight Mike Tyson now.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. I mean, even if Tyson's, man, that was just a bad man when he was fighting.
Yeah, so this is what's happening. So in your world, Larry Wheels is now an arm wrestler, even though he was a social media powerlifter and so on and so forth. I mean, it goes. Juji Mufu tried to be an arm wrestler. Mike Aiello really tore his arm off that time.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you go down the list, and it's happened. It happens a lot. And I mean, there are guys in bodybuilding that I've never heard of, and they're social media people. They've never competed, so on and so forth. And I'm like, and they have tremendous followings, so on and so forth. So yeah, the social media thing has really intertwined with the actual championships, and it has good things. I mean, obviously, I'm became a podcaster and I love doing it, but at the same time, I'm not a big fan of somebody who has clout just because they have a voice or because they have a follling. You know, we're the old generation.
Those of us who paid our dues and stuff kind of go, well, you haven't beat nobody, or your social media presence is huge because all you show is the good stuff. You know, don't show the losses. You don't show when you drop stuff.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So now tell us some of the big names that you pulled against, and tell us some of the wins and losses and so on and so forth.
I pulled Devin Lorette. They didn't give me. I think I beat him once, but the refs didn't call it that way. I pulled Jerry Catterett.
These are big dudes, though. You're not as big as them. Am I accurate? I mean, these guys.
This is what happened in the WAL. I won the 195 class 4 years in a row.
Yeah, Jerry Catterett is 300 pounds.
Yeah, he's like 350, 340.
Wow.
I just got done arm wrestling 2 weeks ago, a 440-pound guy.
So how is that even fair? Like, how does that happen?
Well, like I said, you weigh 440 pounds, but your arm's not twice as big as mine. but what had happened was I was in the WAO and I won the middleweight 4 years in a row. And all I planned to win that middleweight class every single year they had it.
Sure.
And then the WAL took a year off, reconstituted itself. They switched from tournaments to super matches.
Mm-hmm.
And they called me and they said, there used to be a 220 class. It used to be 195, 220 super heavyweights. They said, we're getting rid of the 220 class. We moved 3 people from the 220 class into super heavyweights. We moved 1 guy from the 220 class down to 195, and we're moving you from 195 to super heavyweight.
So that's a big difference.
And I said, well, that's not fair. I go, that's not even nice, because you're taking me out of a class that I dominate, and now you're putting me in a class that, my God, I don't have a chance,
Right.
And I'm 52 years old, so it's not like I'm going to gain a bunch of weight.
Yeah, right.
And but they stuck by their guns. I couldn't talk them out of it, and so I beat a couple of the super heavyweights there, and then I was trying to vie. There was at the time there's 3 top elite guys: Devin Michael Todd, and Jerry Caderet.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't pulled Michael Todd yet, but I didn't beat Jerry and I didn't beat Devin, but I didn't get blown out of the water either. It was I made him work for it and stuff, and I thought if I could have just beat one of those guys, I'd be a no shit elite super heavyweight.
Right.
I'm a legit super heavyweight even at 220 pounds, but I'm not elite. And it's the weight isn't giving me so much trouble. It's just the height difference.
Yeah,
they have far more reach than I do, and their hands are far bigger than I am, and I'm just struggling with that. But
as a middleweight, you are elite.
Trained. Oh yeah, as a middleweight, I'm probably one of the best. I'm probably one of the best North America's had, and I'm probably still recognized as a legit world level middleweight arm wrestler.
Yeah,
but super
I'm
heavyweight, just struggling.
Yeah, there are weight divisions and male female classes and age brackets for a reason. You try to keep it as fair as possible. That's the most you could possibly do. So as a middleweight, though, comparing you to pulling Devin Larratt and pulling Michael Todd, that's just apples and oranges. As a middleweight,
it's not, but it's close. I'm telling you, Bob. Not that far away. I'm not that. If I have a good day and they have a slightly off day, I think I can beat 2 or 3 of those guys.
Okay.
But a lot of shit has to fall in line. I can't. I'm not going to dominate them. Where at a middleweight class, I could probably go into the hangover and I'm still favored.
Right. Well, as a middleweight, who were your toughest opponents?
RVJ was in the mix several times. A big tall kid named Nanastad gave me fits one time. There's a Canadian back in 2013, 2014 named Alan Ford who gave me fits for a while when I came off an injury. But I was heavily favored. Well, I was heavily favored as a middleweight, and then when they put me in super heavyweight, I beat Ron Bath. I beat Marcio Barboza. I beat Matt Mast.
Did you really? You beat Marcio Barboza? Yeah. Wow, that's impressive.
I took Devin. Devin called me and he said when we had our super match, he thinks that first match I probably pinned him, but the refs didn't call it. Jerry Caderet, I was kind of in the mix. So, now if I go back to middleweight, I've got experience pulling super heavyweight, really strong guys. So I would, I'll probably be even better at a middleweight now than had I just stayed there.
Was there anybody that shocked you when you were on the table and you were like, I don't know this guy, or he is this guy's, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're like, yo, where'd that power come from?
Not in a while, but Hadzamurat Zolov from Russia and Rustam Babayev, who I believe is Ukrainian. I can't figure out how to beat those guys. And they're my size or smaller.
Yeah.
And they just give me fits, man. I I mean, I would rather pull somebody bigger and slower than those two guys. You know?
Right.
Yeah, they got that. I don't know. It's like they push a button and my elbow disconnects or something, man. I have no idea what they do. You know?
Well,
And then the more I think about it, the more nervous I get, and it's like I just got to get away from these people.
Yeah.
I pulled Mike Aiello once when he wasn't as famous, and he beat me. He beat me pretty easily at a local Maryland tournament.
He's another big dude. He's got to be close to
200 he's like
pounds.
6'8" or something.
Yeah.
And he was just starting out, and I saw he was hooked into the tournament, so I felt pretty good, and I went up, and he beat me pretty fast and knocked me out of the tournament.
Yeah, he's powerful, man. He's a real strong dude, man. You know, and you know, that's like saying, you know, the names that you're throwing out that you lost to. That's like saying, you know, you lost to Roy Jones Jr. in a boxing match or something like that. You know, there's no shame in it whatsoever. You know, and you're telling me that.
But they don't. I tell you what, man, I lose to people. I say this guy beat me, this little guy beat me, but those super heavyweights don't like losing to me, man. I mean,
well, yeah. Could you imagine that?
Like that night, there's videos out explaining how I did some kind of voodoo to him or something.
Yeah. I could imagine. Like, this guy's 50 pounds less than me, and he's beating me. That's got to be rough to take. You know.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, what tournaments or super matches do you have anything planned in the near future?
The guy who set me up in Texas emailed me, and he's trying to put something together in Vancouver, Washington. He said in December. Mm-hmm. Travis Bajent reached out to me about pulling Lachlan Adair from Australia. Mm-hmm. And Egan Terzi's trying to put something together between me and Sasha Andreev, who just beat RBJ over in Turkey next year. A lot of these, I just switched jobs. I had left a job I had for 6 years and just started a brand new job a week ago Monday. So I'm not exactly sure, you know, what the schedule is, what time I can get off. I mean, I got plenty of vacation, but this company is now, it's ISO certified, and they go through an audit in January. So I'm not exactly sure when it's opportune for me to get off. So I got to wait and see, you know, for a month or so, which of these tournaments I can accept and which of these matches. But I mean, it's like every couple of weeks, people are emailing me and they got another match for me, and
great.
The money keeps going up. So no, for some reason, there's no real leagues anymore except for Igor's, but I'm doing just fine. I'm getting money.
Good. I hope 2022 is a hell of a lot, but I understand. I think WAL is coming back around in 2022. This is the rumors that I've been hearing, so I hope so, because I enjoy that the best. They seem to have the best camera angles, and if they
I love the WAL, man.
Make it a spectacle.
They've been very good to me. I've made more money in the WAL than I have in any league. Good.
Yeah, no, I hope they come back, because they're easy to watch. You know, like I said, the cinematography is great, and it's a tremendous spectacle, and they make it very entertaining, so on and so forth. Now, any major injuries? Have you ever had any real tough injuries you had to overcome?
I detached both biceps.
Wow.
But that's like a $5,000, 5 months, and you're back pulling again. So it's not real major. It's common enough. You know, deadlifters do it a lot. They have they got the surgery down. They've got the screw and the button, and it's the first time I did it in Utah, the doctor signed me up for physical therapy, and I went like once. And I said, I know more about training my arm than you do. I'm not coming back. The second doctor says, I'm not even sending you to physical therapy. All I want you to do is, after the surgery, take 2 weeks off and then start slow. And then I didn't see him again. It took me about 5 or 6 months each time, and then I was competing again.
That's great, man. So Toddzilla, how'd you get that nickname?
I gave it to myself because I didn't want somebody giving me a bad one.
That's great, man. That's great. That's a pretty cool.
I was about my 3rd or 4th year in, and I gave it to myself because this is when TV was just starting to pick up, and you know.
Well, listen, I'm looking forward to 2022 when it comes to arm wrestling. I'm going to go to some local tournaments. I've only been to one. and I don't know. Hopefully, maybe I'll be able to meet you in person soon, and
Sure.
And we could have a beer and hang out and shoot the shit about arm wrestling and what else we could do.
I always like hanging out and drinking beer.
Todd, thank you very much for doing this, sir.
It's been my pleasure.
And is there any shout outs? Do you have any endorsements, anything like that you'd like to throw out there or no?
No.
No.
Oh, I got a YouTube channel.
Oh, there you go.
Go to my YouTube channel, and right before you go to bed, just hit the playlist, hit play, go to sleep. Just let the videos play and let the commercials play. YouTube doesn't know if you're watching them or not, but I need hours. I need viewer hours.
Yeah, join the club. You and me both. Todd, thank you very much. What I want
Watch
you to do,
like 3 YouTube windows and then just let the videos play.
what's the name of the YouTube channel?
Todd Hutchings.
That's it. Okay, I'm going to make sure that the link is in the description area so people could easily go to it.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anytime. Todd, thank you. Have a good evening, and we'll definitely be in touch.
Thank you, my friend. It's been my pleasure.